Overall, a trim and tidy job by Richard Fleischer, aided immeasurably by the cinematography of Robert de Grasse. Although he doesn't get the recognition of RKO colleagues like Harry Wilde, Nicholas Musaraka, and George Discant, who photographed significant noir films such as Murder My Sweet, Out of the Past, and They Live by Night, de Grasse always did a splendid job, whatever type of film he was shooting. His career dated all the way back to the early 20s, when he became a cameraman while still a teenager. He earned an Oscar nomination for 1938's Vivacious Lady, starring Ginger Rogers. She must have liked the way he made her look, because de Grasse also shot Stage Door, Fifth Avenue Girl, Having Wonderful Time, Bachelor Mother, The Story of Vernon and Irene Castle, Kitty Foyle. He was essentially Ginger Rogers' personal director of photography. And when she let him off that short leash, de Grasse displayed a darker side of his sensibility in a couple of wonderfully moody B movies, The Leopard Man and The Body Snatcher, both made at RKO for innovative producer Val Lewton. Once RKO stopped making horror films, de Grasse brought a variation on the Lewton look to several projects, Born to Kill, The Window, and Crack Up, which we'll have on Noir Alley in several weeks. De Grasse also was DP for Richard Fleischer's earlier efforts, Bodyguard and The Clay Pigeon. Frankly, it's de Grasse's imagery that makes Follow Me Quietly feel like film noir. For most of its brief running time, it's a police procedural, in the vein of He Walked by Night. It would have felt more like a noir with a change in the casting. William Lundigan is just too normal and well-adjusted. In a genuine film noir, the pursuit of the judge would have become an all-out obsession, driving Lieutenant Harry Grant to the edge of madness.
Tell me where you're going. Maybe I'll meet you there. How about a date? A blind date with me?
That notion seems to be in the script, but it's just not something Lundigan is capable of expressing. Actors like Dana Andrews and Robert Ryan could have shown the inner turmoil eating up this cop. At RKO, I'd have liked to see what Lawrence Tierney could have done with this part. I just never believed Lundigan is anything but a nice, uncomplicated guy, mainly because no matter what he played, he had that ultra-smooth radio voice. It was, in fact, Lundigan's voice that earned him a Hollywood contract when a talent scout heard him reading ads on the radio in Syracuse, New York. So it came as no surprise when in the mid-50s, after several years as a second-tier leading man, Lundigan reached his peak of fame hosting the television show Climax, where he was the official pitchman for Chrysler cars. Frankly, I'd have preferred seeing his partner, Sergeant Collins, played by Jeff Corey, as the principal on this manhunt.
The judge is a funny kind of guy. Killing people's a funny kind of business.
As a character actor, Corey had virtually limitless range, and in film noir, he specialized in twitchy, haunted, and obsessive characters, typically on the wrong side of the law. He had memorable featured roles in The Killers, Brute Force, and Canyon City. He was completely authentic in every screen appearance, no matter how small the role. During the 40s, Corey was one of the most in-demand bit players in the business. But all that was cut short in 1951 when he delivered a very defiant performance before the House Un-American Activities Committee, refusing to name names and then providing an unasked-for critique of the performances of various witnesses and congressmen. Corey was blacklisted for the duration of the 1950s, although it didn't stop him from having a huge influence on the future of motion pictures. As a teacher, working out of the garage in his Hollywood home, Corey trained a long roster of future stars in the nuances of film acting, including Kirk Douglas, Jane and Peter Fonda, Tony Perkins, Rita Moreno, Jack Nicholson, and many others. Even though Corey was able to resume his acting career in the 1960s, the bitterness remained. When I hosted a double bill in Hollywood of The Killers and The Asphalt Jungle, we invited Jeff Corey and Mark Lawrence, who had appeared respectively in those films. Corey, however, would not be in the same building as Mark Lawrence. So it was Lawrence who told HUAC that Corey was a communist sympathizer, and 50 years later, the wound was still fresh. Now, Lawrence didn't accept our invitation, however, so Corey enthralled the audience with tales from his career and gave us an acting lesson that no one present will ever forget. Now, next week, I'll be back with another story of the hunt for a serial killer, this one based on research by the husband and wife team of Edward and Edna Anhalt. Arthur Franz gives a memorable performance as the Sniper, a film that's still startling 66 years after its original release. Until then, you be the judge. Over on the Noir Alley Facebook page and Twitter feed, where Noirvember begins next month. Meanwhile, I'll be staking out the laundries, pool halls, markets, and saloons, starting right here. See you next week.